Hi, it's Jennifer Hoffman, and in this short course, we're going to talk about how to avoid project overwhelm. Project overwhelm wastes time, energy, and it's very discouraging. It happens when we, number one, underestimate the amount of effort needed to complete a project. So we set unrealistic goals and unrealistic outcomes and don't realize how long it's going to take to get everything done. When we don't break out the tasks needed to complete the project. So when we look at a project as a single entity, rather than breaking it down into a number of major steps, and then within those major steps, smaller steps that need to be accomplished to get everything finished. And most importantly, when we define an entire project as a task and then get defeated by the amount of work we are faced with trying to get it done. And I'm going to go into more detail here, but for example, what I mean by this third point is deciding that I'm going to create a website this afternoon. That's a project, and we set ourselves up for failure when we look at it as a task and then realize that there are a lot of different things that have to be done to create a website. And that's just discouraging. Then you don't feel like doing it because you feel defeated before you even begin. So let's help you avoid that by going into more detail about it. Okay, for example, building a website is a project, not a task. And here are some of the basic things that are required to build a website. First, you have to choose a site provider. You need a hosting site for your website. You need to get a domain name. Sometimes it's hard to find, and that's something that you need to choose carefully. You need to decide the route for your website. Are you going to get a free site like Wix or Squarespace, or are you going to get a custom designed website and hire a website developer? Are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to hire someone to do it for you? You need to choose the colors, the font, and the layouts. You need to decide on the number of pages. The content needs to be written for each page. You need to arrange for payment processing if you're going to sell products or services on your site. And then you need to launch the site once it's all finished. And in that too, before the launching part, you need to test the site, make sure everything works. You need to have integrations. For example, if you have an email service, then you need to integrate your email subscription box onto your website. So as you're looking at this list, the project, building a website, doesn't really get any bigger. It's a project. What happens though, if you get realistic about designing this, is you start to look at your project as a series of milestones, and then within those milestones, you have certain tasks that need to be accomplished. With project overwhelm, your website project looks like this. Build a website, like this massive behemoth in front of you, this huge project that if you've never built a website before, you don't realize how much goes into building websites. Only once you get started that you start to think, oh, this is going to be a lot more difficult than I thought. When you used a well-defined project management methodology to create your website, the project looks like this. And I'm using the example of creating a website. This methodology is useful for anything, for writing a book, for creating a website, for deciding on a course, creating a service that you're going to offer, creating a product you're going to sell. The project is the finished output, and then the milestones are the major steps, and then the tasks in between are the different things that you do to accomplish those milestones. The project is the completed plan, and it consists of milestones, defining moments or events in the overall project, and then tasks, the effort required to complete a milestone. So if one of your milestones is writing content for your website, then the tasks are deciding which content goes on which page, deciding what you want to say or what you want to promote on that page, how many paragraphs, the kinds of words you're going to use, but also the font, the colors, the layout, what text gets bolded, if there are keywords that you use and you want to highlight those in a sidebar. Those are all part of the tasks that would be included in the milestone of writing content. And in fact, each page on your website should probably be its own milestone, just like each chapter in your book should probably be its own milestone. A project can have multiple milestones, and the tasks are the different steps required to fulfill the milestone. For example, a project of designing a website. Milestone 1 would be not writing the content, it'd be getting the foundation in place. The first task would be selecting a hosting provider. Your website has to sit on a server somewhere, so you need a hosting provider. You need to choose a domain name and then decide on the type of the website. Those 3 tasks are really important. They are the foundation of your site, and without those, nothing else happens. So they would have to be done first. And they're important milestones, but also, for example, finding a hosting provider. There are dozens of hosting providers. Who's good? What's within your budget? Some are more expensive than others. Some are more reliable than others. Some are easier to use than others. So these are things that you have to consider. And again, the big circle build a website project suddenly looks a lot more difficult when you start breaking it out into milestones and you start realizing there is a lot more to this than just, I'm going to get my website done this afternoon. It does take a little bit longer than that. To avoid project overwhelm, keep your projects manageable and realistic. It is unrealistic to burden yourself with the build a website in 2 hours project, or to not break down your projects into more manageable steps that you can accomplish over a longer period of time and not get overwhelmed or bogged down by the amount of work you have to do. So first you break the project down into milestones, which are the major aspects for completion. And then you add the tasks, the steps within each milestone to achieve it. What this also does is it gives you a list of things that need to be done that you can then check off as you do them, so that you're not randomly addressing issues because, oh, I forgot to do this. Oh, this needs to come first. Oh, I've got the content. I don't have a website. I don't have a hosting provider. Who is my domain name going to be? This allows you to be much more organized and much more process focused, and it's a lot easier to get your job done that way. And make your milestones reasonable. You don't want to have 30 tasks in a milestone. If you have more than 5 tasks, then you need a new milestone. You're trying to get too much done into one box, into one milestone. And be aware of the time required to complete each task. Some take more time than others. Finding a hosting provider is about research. Choosing a domain name is also about research. Writing content takes a little more time because it requires more reflection and more attention to the actual nature of your business and how you want customers to view you and what you want customers to see on your website. So just know that tasks are not equally balanced. They don't all take the same amount of time. Some take a little more time than others. And when you plan out your projects with milestones and tasks and give yourself ample time to complete each one, you are less anxious, less stressed, and you produce much better results. So I look forward to seeing your project plans with your milestones and your tasks. And remember to break out your tasks in a reasonable way and be realistic. If a milestone has more than 5 tasks, you probably need to create a new milestone. You're trying to cram too much into one single milestone. I hope you enjoyed this short course. It's Jennifer Hoffman, and this is part of the GPS Business Academy service offerings. Find us at gpsbusinessacademy.com.